Hi guys, and welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I will be talking about patch 11.2 and I want to explain how you will be able to make quite a lot of gold, especially during the first few days and the first few weeks of this new patch. So of course, keep in mind, all my information is based on what we know from the PTR. They might have some changes. And also, if you really want to make a lot of gold, I would definitely recommend you to try and do some of the different activities I'm going to mention in today's video as early as possible in order to make the most gold possible, because again, as soon as you'll wait a little bit too long, the margin and the profit you will be able to make with some of these items might be less interesting. And so again, if you really want to make the most gold with the launch of patch 11.2, you need to do it right away. So the first thing that I would recommend you to do, and this is something you will be able to do right away as soon as the new patch will launch, and especially it will be extremely accessible and easy, is to simply farm the new materials that will be available. So here, as you can see, you will have some from herbalism, and then you will also have some from mining. So this is really something that will be good at the start, and you will probably be able to make the most profit during these first 2 weeks, especially because as soon as season 3 will be released and the new patch, the new raid and all the new mythic plus seasons and everything will be launched, a lot of players will need to craft a lot of new things and these materials will be needed. So this is really when you can make the most gold with these different items. Also, it's important to note that you will be able to use these different materials in order to buy some of the previous materials from the War Within. So as you can see, for instance, using the new Lotus, you will be able to buy the previous version, and same with all these other plants. So at some point when these will become really cheap, you might want to invest in some of them to then buy the other materials from the previous patches that might still be very valuable. Here there is also one specific material that is interesting, and this is the Mana Forge instrument. So as you can see, this one will drop from the boss inside of the Mana Forge Omega raid, the Forge Weaver Aras. And this is something that will be needed for the different contracts with the different cartels and also for the new Glyphal Glamour Ethereals. So definitely something that might be in high demand for all the different contracts, because this is a very easy way to get some extra reputations with the different cartels. And so that's something that might be pretty profitable, but this is not really something you can farm a lot because you'll need to kill the boss. And so just something for you to have in mind and maybe an extra reason to sometimes kill this boss if you can. Another important thing you might want to do is to upgrade your reputation with the new Renown, the Karesh Trust, as fast as possible and to reach Renown 5, because when you will reach Renown 5, you will be able to unlock all the different recipes. So here the main ones that are going to be interesting are the tailoring ones. These are linked to the new cloak, the Reshi Wraps, which is basically going to be the most powerful item in the game until the release of Midnight. And here, as you can see, you will be able to use one gem on your cloak and you will be able to get the blue version very easily. But if you want to get the epic version, you will need to have a tailor crafted through the crafting order system. So here, as you can see, these are the different gems that you will be able to craft. And again, only tailors will be able to craft them. These are binds when picked up, so you will need to go through the crafting order system. And so especially if you're playing, for instance, on a hyper realm, and you have the recipe unlocked as soon as possible, then probably you're going to be able to make a lot of gold with all these different gems. And then next to that, you also have the main contract for the Karesh Trust, you also have the Ventus Rune for the new raid, you have a new healing potion, and you also have this other item right here. So definitely something that you might want to consider doing, especially if you have a tailor and you want to make some gold crafting these different gems. Then another interesting farm that you will be able to do is simply killing a lot of the different mobs in the new zone Karesh, and to do some of these hyper spawn farms in order to get some of the new BoEs. So normally these BoEs will be able to go up to eye level 652 and they will be further upgradable. And as this is already a really good eye level, probably a lot of people who will be playing with their alts will be trying to get some of them, and this is a very easy way for them to gear up all their different alts. So trust me, these different BoEs will sell for quite a lot of gold early on in this new patch, and even throughout the patch, they will probably still be valuable. So the only recommendation I'll have is probably for you to just make sure to check what is the main farm that is working the best for that. And then you can go, for instance, in custom search and just type farm and things like that. And hopefully you will be able to find some groups available in order to farm all these different BoE items. Then, as always, another good source of gold making in this new patch will come from the new raid BoEs. Here, one interesting change to note compared to the previous raids is the fact that some of the different stats will be completely random, as you can see on all these different pieces of gear. So it means that this farm will become even more risky, but also even more potentially profitable, because if you get a really good piece of gear with the best stats and with also maybe an extra socket, you will be able to sell it for millions of gold. But of course, it also means that sometimes you will get some BoEs with some of the worst stats that no one wants, and you will probably struggle selling these different items. So this is definitely going to be a very risky farm, but also again something that might make you really, really rich. Another important thing to note is that normally with the new raid, we will have all these very, very good pieces of gear for the boots. And as you can see, these will have as a special effect to increase basically the powers of your Reshi wraps by 50% more frequently. So it means that these different boots that will drop from the raid will be the most OP items that you can get. And so probably some of these different BoEs might not be as interesting because there are a lot of boots. But with the catalyst and with all these other things, probably still a lot of people will consider buying them to then transform them in pieces of gear from the raid or things like that. So I still think this is definitely a good source of gold making. And we might also have a BoE ring, and this one would definitely be the most profitable one. So yeah, just something for you to consider. And again, if you want to participate in some of these different farms, you want to go in raids, the war within, and type farm. And normally like that, you will be able to find all the different groups. But if you really want to make the most gold, you will need to do it in heroic difficulty during the first few weeks, because this is going to be the highest eye level possible, because all the mythic BoEs will be binds when picked up for the first few weeks or maybe the first month. And so it means that probably you will need to already have quite a good eye level before the release of the raid in order to be invited in some of these different groups. Then after that, we also have a bunch of new pets that will be available with the new patch, and here some of them will be cageable, which means that you will be able to then sell them on the auction house. And most of them will come from this vibrating box, as you can see. And so we're not exactly sure how you will be able to get this vibrating box. Maybe it's linked to phase diving, maybe it's linked to the new Oasis and this type of features. But basically, if you want to make some gold with these different pets, you will really need to get your hands on some of these different vibrating box, because again, during the first few weeks, collectors will try to get all of them as fast as possible. And so if you are amongst the first players to get your hands on some of these pets, you will be able to sell them for a lot of gold. So that might also become a really, really good source of gold and a really good gold farm. But we just need to wait and see how exactly you will be able to get your hands on these different vibrating box. And of course, next to that, you can just simply do all the usual farms from the previous expansions and from old content, including farming transmogs, farming mounts, and everything, and things that you know will work. It's just that with the release of a new patch, there's always a lot of opportunities to make some easy gold if you're doing it right away and if you're really prioritizing that. But it's completely up to you to see how you like to make your gold in World of Warcraft. Finally, the last thing that I want to bring to your attention is a potential investing opportunity. But here, as always, I really want to insist on the fact that flipping items in the game is always risky. You always take the risk of losing your gold. And here it's exactly the same. So even though I think personally it might become something really interesting to invest in, I might be wrong. But basically, I want to talk about the 3 different mounts that you can get from Undermine. These are the different mounts you can get with the different mechanical miscellanea that you can get from all the different rares and from other sources. And these items are really rare and really annoying to get. and you need 25 of them in order to buy one of the mounts. And so as you can see right now, there's quite a lot of them available on the different auction houses, simply because a lot of people have been playing in Undermine, and so there are a lot of these different items that have been dropping, and players have been able to sell a lot of these different mounts on the auction house. But my theory is that probably with the release of patch 11.2, there's gonna have less of these mounts available on the auction house because less players will be playing in Undermine, and so less of these different items will be dropped and less of these mounts will be bought. And so with that, most likely the value is going to increase because there's gonna have less and less of them available, and the demand will probably still be the same. And especially this is not mounts that you can farm very easily. It will take you a long time if you haven't started yet. And in total, you need 75 of these different items. So for collectors, it's really something that most likely you have to go through the auction house to get all of them. And especially, I'm thinking about even after the War Within in Midnight, when players will be interested in getting these mounts. Most likely they'll consider buying them from the auction house because again, it will be a really big grind in order to get the 75 items you need in order to buy the 3 mounts. So right now, some of them are extremely cheap, as you can see, less than 1 million gold. And maybe if you buy them now, you will be able to sell them for double the price in a few months from now, or maybe during the next expansion. However, again, nothing is guaranteed. Who knows, maybe Blizzard will decide to nerf the spawn rate, or no. Maybe Blizzard will decide to nerf the drop rate of these different items and to make them way easier to get, or maybe they will even completely change, the way you get the different items and the way you get these mounts, and maybe they will become way cheaper. It already happened in the past. And so again, this is really just something I wanted to bring to your attention because I think it might become a really good source of gold in the future. But I might also be wrong, and so that's just for you to consider. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. I will be back very soon with more guides and more videos, and in the meantime, I wish you all a great day. Bye!